you here, Ajahn?
Yes, Sawadika, everyone.
Sawadika, Ajahn. Yes. So I think we can start now. I can see that Carmen and Nina have just joined as well, and other people are just joining. So Yotika, last week we were discussing quite a lot about kusala and akusala and seeing the danger and the slightest akusala at this moment, rather than thinking about following rules and what one should and shouldn't do and having intentions to stop this or that bad habit, but just back to understanding now. Do you have any comments?
Not clear. I was only hanging with the question, if there is no one who is listening, is consciousness listening? Is that also then a quality? Is a quality listening? Is listening self the quality?
So when we talk in conventional language about listening, usually we're thinking of a situation like listening here to the Zoom discussion for an hour or so, or listening to what we hear on the radio. But as we know, the listening is actually just at a moment of hearing, just for a moment, which just hears sound. So the citta hears the sound, and then instantly there's thinking about it, thinking about the meaning, about the quality. And there are many, many moments of hearing sound with many, many countless moments of thinking in between about the sound, the meaning, the phrase, the person, and so on. So actually, there is just one citta at a time, one citta that hears, one citta that follows, that considers, many more cittas that think, more moments of cittas which see and hear. So many cittas, one after the other, no one there, each one conditioned. So what listening will be now, what will be heard, what will be thought about, just depends on conditions. What is heard depends on the sound that is impinged on the ear sense and karma in the past. What is thought about depends on the accumulation to think wisely, or the accumulation to think unwisely at this very moment about the sound, the meaning.
It's very clear already, but I didn't make the link. I don't know. Yeah.
That's because we always think about the situation, the story. And so it seems that it's I that listen, or I that intends to listen to this and not that, this channel or that channel. But actually, when we consider it's just a moment now, a moment of hearing now, which hears sound, then it becomes clearer that no one can decide what to hear. No one is there to hear. It's just a citta which hears and falls away instantly. And this is the same for every other moment of life, just a citta that is conditioned to arise, accompanied by its mental factors, and falls away instantly, moment after moment, no one to do anything at all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And Yotika, when there is listening to someone, when we talk about listening to someone or something, the meaning is different from when we talk about hearing someone or something, isn't it?
Because there is a someone or something, and there is not something.
There is an element of paying attention, of wanting to hear what the person is, or yes, wanting to hear what the person or thing is doing or saying or meaning. And so there is not just the hearing, although that is present as well, but there's also the intention to...
But if
Yes.
there is no hearing, then nothing is happening. Okay.
Yes, but there are different shades of meaning to different expressions. So listening implies paying close attention as well as hearing, just like looking is different from seeing.
Okay, interesting.
So different realities could appear at that time.
Looking different from seeing. Yes.
Because the seeing now just sees what is visible. It doesn't think about it. It doesn't like it. It doesn't dislike it. It has no idea about it. It just sees, that's all. But as soon as there is looking at what is seen, actually there's thinking instantly, thinking about the color, the shape, who is there on the screen, the meaning, and so on. But the seeing just sees.
There's more intention also to listen then.
More thinking about it, more wishing to listen, wishing to see, to look, and so on.
Okay, difference between
the ignorance, the clinging comes in.
Nice. Thank you.
Hello, Nina. Was there anything you wanted to bring up related to last week's discussion or any new topic?
I had really the same question as Han a few weeks ago about the parinyas, because parinya is arising, a moment of parinya arises after each vipassana jnana, and it has to apply what at a short moment of vipassana jnana to other realities. And then Ajahn explained it is more than just wise thinking. And that is perhaps difficult to understand. Wise thinking and more than wise thinking, because it is a parinya, it is on the level of vipassana jnana, and it is a high level for us. We can't understand yet. So it's good, it's actually good to understand more that it is more than wise thinking.
Because if it was just wise thinking, it might be like now, there can be wise thinking about seeing or hearing now. But when it is direct understanding, even before vipassana jnana, it's more than wise thinking. It is the direct understanding of the reality. And when it is the direct understanding of realities after there has been the clear understanding at vipassana jnana level, then it must be clearer and firmer still, because it's not just thinking wisely like some people say, but it must be the very clear and direct understanding of different realities after the various stages of clear insight. But I think that the reason that people have a lot of questions and doubts is because, and it doesn't seem clear, is because it's just thinking about what it would be like instead of just understanding what appears now. But let's see if Ajahn would like to add more to either Yotika's topic or your topic.
there are many degrees of understanding. Is that right? Many degrees. For example, just one word. What about understanding? What level of understanding? For example, if one takes seeing for eye, when there's no seeing, where is the eye? See? So it's just no understanding of the nature of seeing as it is, even right now. We just heard about seeing, what condition it's arising, and it falls away and on, never to return. That is the understanding about what is there. But the nature of it, which now arises and falling away, doesn't show up to be known at all. But the idea, the understanding is firm or not firm enough, that whatever is there now, by conditions. For example, we are talking, but there is seeing, see, not just drinking and talking, see. What about seeing which is there all day? Who conditioned it to arise? But there are conditions for whatever arises. This is the understanding of the story of what is there as it is, little by little, to begin to understand what is there as it is. Seeing is real, it's there, it sees, but what is it? That which arises and cannot experience, cannot see. So there must be a reality as the rupa, the reality which cannot experience anything, is conditioned to arise to be rupa. So that which arises to experience is there, another reality by conditions. Without conditions, nothing can arise at all. So begin to consider the truth gradually, little by little, in order to understand that what is there is by conditions. And it's not always there. As soon as it has risen, it falls away instantly. That's why there are so many things appearing through different doorways. It seems like all one, everything appears together at a time, like now. But in truth, just one moment of seeing. It's not moment of thinking. It's not moment of hearing. It's not moment of liking, or each moment is there, one by one, different ones too. Is that true? Beginning to have firm confidence of the truth at level of intellectual understanding of the truth of it. But as it's so true, can it be known, or can it be directly experienced as it is, one by one, separate ones, not all together like now? So that's why right understanding developed little by little, just to understand the truth of what is there. Only to understand the truth which is hidden, no thought about it from day to day, from morning to night. But there are whatever by conditions all the time. That's why we learn to understand the truth of what is there right now. And this is not Parinya yet, because it's only intellectual understanding of the truth that what is there. Seeing, it experiencing, it knows the object which is seen only. So it's the seeing. And hearing is not seeing. It's the reality which is conditioned to arise just to hear and then gone. Sunyata, never return at all. Is this true? So each moment arises and falls away forever, never to arise again. Is that true? And this is intellectual understanding that can be directly aware of the truth, little by little, one by one. So very, very rapidly, very, very subtle. So it begins to understand the subtlety of all dhammas. That is so true, that what appears seems like it never fall away at all. It's there from moment to moment, changing all the time, but it's there all the time. But in truth, what is there? From moment to moment, in split seconds moment. That's why we learn to understand this, to have firm confidence of the truth, that if there's no hearing and considering the truth of what is there, there must be the idea of I, which sees, because that which cannot experience is not taken for I. The tree, the flower, the curtain, and so on. But that which experiences, and no one there, nothing, only that which arises and experience. So it's me who sees, no understanding that it's just a moment of seeing, not a moment of thinking, not a moment of taking it for I, and so on, in a day, in split seconds. That's why when there is firm confidence enough for direct understanding with awareness on an object, with understanding that the truth of it is that it is hardness, not a chair or anything at all. It's that which is seen, not other thing at all, only that which can be seen, and so on. Just learning about the truth of life. And when there is awareness, we use the Pali term sati or patthana, because there is the understanding of that object enough to directly understand it when it's there by conditions. And just the beginning to develop the understanding of a characteristic as it is. No word about whether it's seeing or the object which is seen or the word that we have talked about or learned about. But it's just a moment of experiencing the characteristic of that which appears as it is. Even it's just one moment of direct awareness, but the other object appears because the rapidity of the succession of the arising and falling away of each moment. That's why the moment of direct awareness with understanding, right understanding, begin to understand. It's different from other people. When it's not the direct understanding moment by condition. And this is not parinya yet. It's just beginning to understand the difference between pariyati and patipati. And how long will it take to have firm confidence of even pariyati? So before there can be the moment of direct awareness, it has to let go the idea of I would like to experience it, I try to do it, I have to attend on it, and so on. Because the understanding gradually letting go the idea of self or someone who can do or can try or will try. See, whatever is there in life from moment of birth up to now are hidden, have been hidden all the time until what is there now can be thought about little by little to be a moment of understanding the truth. And this is not even Pativeda, because it just begins to understand the difference between the direct awareness and understanding what is there, not just in word or by words at all. That's why it takes quite a long, long time to be truthful, be patient, and virya to develop right understanding by conditions, not by me or anyone at all. And this moment of understanding is building up the understanding of the truth. So gradually, unknowingly, how much it works, it has been thought about, considered about, until it's a little firmer and understand the truth of whatever is there, as it is, different degrees of understanding. That's why in Tipitaka it says, what now appears does not appear well. Thinking about well, only one at a time appearing, not together with other reality. And what are them? There must be right understanding with other factors, cetasikas, which develop together with right understanding We don't have to name it, or we can talk about it to understand that even one moment, there are so many different realities arising together, conditioned by its proper condition to be different, arises together, experience the same thing in its own way and its own function, its own characteristic. Just learn to let go the idea of self, little by little, by its way, not by the other's way at all, until the understanding of the moment of direct understanding is strong enough. No regret, no wish to have such and such as the object, and understanding what is the even intention to try or to do or to think about what is there. As the accumulation of the idea of self is so long, so enormous, it's there all the time in life, no matter right or left, or wherever, it's there. All khandhas, whatever are there, are taken for something or different things at once, like now. That's why learning to understand the truth, that it's just the understanding only that can letting go the attachment and ignorance and the idea of self from whatever is there as flower or curtain or chairs or whatever, or I or my sister or whatever, all there in life from moment to moment. It can be letting go only when there is the understanding of the truth. From just not very much, very few, very little, until it becomes so natural by conditions to be acquainted with the characteristic which is not self or anything at all. And this moment of understanding is the only way to let go the wrong understanding and ignorance of what is there. So this is so very subtle path, the fourth Ariya Satya of the four Ariya Satya. Who knows now how much it works? Or just it moved away, just very, very, very tiny dirtiness of what is there. So enormous. And there can be the understanding of the right path and the only path to understand until realizing the moment of no one, what is there is only that which experience or that which cannot experience. No word about it because it shows up as it is. That's why the understanding is different stage by stage before it can be Vipassana Jnana, which is Pativeda. The first one is not the last one. See how much different from one to another one, on and on and on, little by little. And once it has been experienced, not forget about, no, trying to forget. I mean that it cannot be forgotten because it experienced directly. That's why it is Yata Parinya. Someone will say, oh, it's not that, it's not it, it has to be that right understanding that has experienced that, understand what is true and what is not true. So it is Yata Parinya. But it's so very short comparing to what is there now when the object does not appear well. So it has to apply to whatever is there by conditions. See how long it will take to have such habits different from the habits of no attention to what is there at all and taking that for I or something all the time. That's why the understanding developed little by little, but it's so true to the truth of what is there as it is. Until after Yata Parinya, it has to be Tirana Parinya. Understanding that what has been experienced cannot compare to many, many moments in life. It's just so very short and only some, not all yet. That's why develops by apply to the understanding of that level to whatever is there by conditions. How patient it has to be by conditions. That's why whatever is accumulated in years and years ago is conditioned to arise, to show, to be object, depending on understanding how much it can let go. What is there, which is conditions. As long as there are conditions for whatever arises, it arises not at anyone's will, but it's by conditions. The understanding of another's develops little by little on and on patiently. And that is the only way to understand how much different experiencing what is there now, and with some understanding and a little more understanding until it appears, well, to be different stages of vipassana. That's why there are three parinya, yata parinya, tirana parinya, and pahana parinya, before the idea of self can be completely, absolutely eradicated. Ultimately, never to arise again.
Ajahn, so if people ask whether intellectual understanding or pariyati is more than just thinking, I think it's a whole process, many moments, and it has to develop. Is that right?
We don't have to think a process at all, just understand whatever appears. At moment of hearing, we don't have to think a process. At moment of seeing, we don't have to think a process. But understanding the nature of different reality as it is different ones, to let go the idea of seeing as I see or hearing as I hear. So the point is to directly experience the nature of what is there as it is, to be nama, rupa, paricetayana, no doubt about what is that which experiences as nama, no word about it, and what is there as that which cannot experience anything, different characteristic. At that very moment, it cannot be known before it arises at all. What will it be? To be object of understanding. Of what level of understanding?
Ajahn, you also said it is the beginning of not forgetting the truth. And I like that expression, that it is the beginning of not forgetting. I find that very helpful.
And who knows? It has to be panya only which knows. For example, today, is at any moment thinking about the truth of what is there. Not moment of attending to the characteristic yet. It just begins that it's a reality, it's there, it's there, it's there. So the development of understanding works its way unknowingly, very, very subtly, very, very subtle. Right now, who knows, holding the knife's handle, how much it wears away, cannot be seen, cannot be known, only when it's there. Show up as how much it's worn away, little by little, stage by stage. That's why only understanding the truth as it is, stage by stage, firmer and firmer and firmer, to be Atidana Parami, never go wrong. It's so very, very slowly developed, but it has to be that way, comparing to how much accumulation of ignorance and attachment from years and years and years ago until now, and go on when there's no understanding of what is there now, little by little. And can that bring joy? that it can be known, not by me, by Viriya, by Satya, by Nekama, by Panya, see, all Bharami. It can show up little by little in daily life about Bharami to be known. So it's just daily life. Even get angry with someone, it's any patient not to be irritated, not to have such moment. What about the pleasant things and unpleasant things and situation and so on? Or are there different realities by different conditions from moment to moment? Condition the next moment to be different ones and different ones all the time. Never be the same one at all. Just arise and falls away, no return.
Holding the knife handle, we hear that a lot of time, but we did not consider that enough, how slowly it is. It's a very good reminder.
So that is the understanding now about Parami, see? How long will it take? It doesn't matter as long as it develops little by little. Panya understand the value of understanding that without hearing, considering, there's no food, no conditions for Panya to grow, to understand a little better, until unexpectedly when time comes, when conditions are ready, it's there. Anatta, anattamas, unexpected.
Yes, you say it pops up. So that is a good expression to explain this, that it is so unexpectedly.
Right now, but it's not clear because right understanding is not enough. Unexpected hearing, unexpected liking, or unexpected understanding, and so on, all are unexpected. Only Panya can realize that when it's there unexpectedly. By conditions, from now on and on, understanding a little more, that's the way to let go. So Panya understands the lurking attachment in the corner anytime to let go. The idea of self and ignorance and the trap of attachments and wholesomeness, unwholesomeness. So just live to understand the truth now when time comes. And be good friend. And that is parami too. Let go one's own thinking about oneself, not sharing with others and so on, no matter in trouble or anytime. Right understanding can understand that little by little as it is. That's why each word of the teachings of the Buddha has to be considered again and again, deeper and deeper and deeper. Just one word, Dhamma, see, all are Dhammas. So just listen, study, consider carefully until right understanding is firmer and firmer. When time comes, no one can stop whatever arises by proper conditions right there. Unexpectedly. But there must be understanding of what is there in a moment as nimitta of that moment of seeing or hearing. That's why there are so many degrees of understanding. The moment when taking what is there as something, how long, even right now, and from hearing, it develops itself to begin to develop the understanding to let go the idea of self. Even just thinking about it, it's a reality, is so real, no matter what is there touching, what is there is a reality. At moment of liking, appreciate, or like the food so much, or whatever is so delicious, it's there. Only condition can condition moment of understanding it, or just attend to the characteristic with some understanding, even in words, by conditions. So now, so many things appear together. How can anyone imagine when it appears only one so clear? Because it has to be, when it's not clear, it just begins to be aware little by little, but it's so natural. How long will it be developing in such very subtle manners? So noble. And these are the teachings of the Buddha about everything, to consider the truth of it, to have confidence of the truth, such a parami. Otherwise, one does not know the virtues of the Buddha at all. The more understanding, the more getting a little closer to know who's the Buddha. The one who has enlightened the truth of whatever is there, hidden so very deeply, so very subtly. Is it now?
Not yet.
So this is parami.
And Nina, the word applying, like when talking about the parinyas, applying the understanding, it doesn't mean anyone or anything does anything or literally applies. It just means that the understanding at those moments clearly understands other realities other than those that were clearly understood at the moments of vipassana jnana. So it's not just reasoning about it, but it is the clear understanding of other realities during the day, because so many realities, different namas and rupas, have to be understood. So that's what is meant by applying. It just means the understanding of other realities. And whatever level of understanding we're talking about, whether it is the pariyati intellectual understanding like now, or the patipati, the direct understanding, or the vipassana jnana, the jnata parinya, or even the bahana parinya, we're always talking about a moment. It's a moment of understanding. It's not a countless moments of wise considering or a long story. It's just a moment of understanding at each point. Even the highest parinya, the jnata parinya, at the moment of enlightenment, it's just for a moment. Yeah. So this is why it's not about the process or a long string of events, but just a moment of understanding at different levels. So just a slight understanding intellectually, or a weak direct understanding, or strong direct understanding, or clear understanding, on and on and on, until it is that moment of abandoning, at the moment of enlightenment. Yeah, all by conditions, not by anyone applying or doing anything at all, always. Yeah.
When I say process, I mean many different moments. It is developing rather. Not at once. One doesn't know clearly, the panya doesn't know clearly at once, but many moments are necessary.
One moment at a time. Yeah. And I think the point that Ajahn made that is very important is that there has to be the letting go of wishing to understand, wishing to attain, intention to try, however slightly, to understand, or for the understanding to develop, or the regretting that there's not more understanding, because without this letting go, the understanding cannot develop, because one is stuck with the idea of I, and wishing and trying and hoping. So it has to be understood when it's there in order for there to be the letting go.
That makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Does anyone else have any topic or question they would like to bring up?
And to stress that it is more, that it's all by conditions is so important. Otherwise, I'll think of myself, but are there different conditions?
And just conditions for different chittas, like now, conditions for loba, conditions for hearing, conditions for wise considering, unwise considering, conditions for minding or wishing, each one by conditions. Nothing to be done at all. No one to apply anything. No one to develop anything.
Yeah, that is a point, yeah, about applying that you made, to understand that well. Otherwise you get a wrong idea when you hear it has to be applied.
Yes. And like Ajahn was stressing, the adhitthana, the confidence develops with the understanding, more and more confidence that nothing to be done at all, no one to be aware, nothing to be wished for, because this moment's already conditioned. So the letting go of the idea of I, which takes a long time, but has to wear away little by little in order for the understanding to develop very naturally. And then one knows whatever one hears or reads, like apply or anything else, it's always referring to conditioned dharmas only.
And confidence, as you said, satya parami, when you said the perfection of truthfulness and confidence, she related that.
And adhitthana parami.
Yeah.
What is there? See? Is there nothing? Or what is there? Is it that which experiences the object is there? Unknown. Only right understanding knows. Right understanding only can know what is there. And we say our reality, in order to understand what is it. It's there, but it's not known by ignorance.
But Ajahn,
Alan,
yeah, you
Yeah.
explained before that always there has to be the experience of an object, even if the object is unknown, like the rebirth consciousness or the Bhavanga Citta. And that is very, very good reminder that there has to be a Citta that experience an object.
See, even it's there, when the object, the other thing, does not appear as the object, it has to be that which experiences the object. Or we use the term citta is there, see? Never absent at all. When the object of its experiencing does not appear, it's there. But ignorance cannot understand it as it's just a reality. Completely no reality arising with it as rupa at all. But since it's there with other mental factor which doesn't show up, so it's not attachment, it's not aversion. When nothing is there, but it's there, it is moment of experiencing an object which the object is not known. So it's the citta there itself. A little bit of understanding the characteristic of citta when nothing is there, begin to develop to understand any moment by conditions. That's why it's not by anyone at all to try, but the understanding the truth little by little, and not forget about what is heard and what is thought about as object of consider carefully. It can be the understanding of that a little more. So very slowly and very, very, not every moment or many moments at all. By conditions is there. So in order to understand that citta is not anything, attachment or aversion or whatever, it has to be understand the pure reality which arises to be the chief of experiencing. It's there, no matter any moment. Unknown all the time, even when it's there, ignorance cannot understand it as just a reality which experiences an object. It's not hard, it's not sound, it's not like, it's not dislike. Otherwise, there cannot be any moment to think about it. Just thinking about that which appears as attachment, aversion, smell or taste, and so on.
And Ajahn, I like it too, that you always remind us of the perfections. Always the perfections come in because they are so important.
And there can be understanding that without parami, it's impossible to have very great understanding of whatever is there as it is. Because of the rapidity of the succession of moment to moment, and no attention, no understanding, no word about it to be thought about. So how can there be the understanding? That's why the word of truth has to be from the enlightenment. Otherwise, who knows about that which experiences the object when the object does not appear? It's quite long way by conditions to have such and such moment of not forgetting the truth of what is there. By hearing, considering, on and on, by conditions. See? When ignorance is so very enormous, how can it be just a little? It
Yes.
takes a long time.
And like one never knows what happens the next moment, because I had a fall just before yesterday. Before I knew, I was lying on the floor. I couldn't get up without help. And it's even at such moments, even if it is thinking, one does not forget the truth. And I know by thinking that it is by conditions, the hardness when lying on the floor, so painful.
And what about it now? Is it better?
Very no pain. I was just sliding on the floor.
And it's all gone. Nina, there was a good example when we were in...
It really helps. It really helps.
Yes. When we were in Bangkok, Jan had a fall too on the floor. And it can happen anytime. And we were all standing around and she was on the floor for a little while. And then afterwards just carried on as normal. Fortunately, she wasn't hurt. And the next day, people were asking how she was. She said, all gone. So now, no pain, no, just thinking and dwelling on the story about it. And it's always like that, always thinking about what has happened or what is coming and worrying that it may happen again and this and that. But life is just at this moment.
Like Jonathan's case too, I find an example.
The problem is all in the thinking.
He had all planned the journey, but he couldn't make it because of the medical issues. And we didn't know before.
I know. And no matter whether it's a serious problem or not a serious, health condition, but still it's just a moment of seeing, a moment of painful bodily feeling, and so much thinking about the story and me and my fall or my medical issue and what the doctor says and so on. So we live in the world of dreams and fantasies and forget about life is just at this moment, now. It's always the truth now that matters. Some people don't like to hear about now, but that's all there is in life.
But I feel
Just
a bit
this moment.
scared that it'll happen again, a bit shaky about this happening.
And it's very natural, but it's just the thinking with fear at this moment. So it's so natural, it has to be like that. But one can see at this moment, there's no fall, there's no pain, but it's just thinking with fear. And if it wasn't thinking about the fall, it would be thinking about something else, worrying about this thing or that thing, just because of the accumulated tendency of clinging to I, thinking about what will happen to me and what will happen next time and so on. So it's like that for everyone, always living in the story about me and my situation instead of just understanding what is real now. And as Jan said earlier, moments of kindness or concern for the others, no thought about me or my problems at those moments either.
But even at the moment of kindness, she explained that there can be clinging to the other person, or clinging
different
to
moments. Different moments.
Yeah.
Not at the actual moment of kindness, but another moment of clinging, even clinging to my kindness. Yes, comes in so quickly. Yeah. Or like now, clinging to what is heard, clinging to what Ajahn says, clinging as soon as there is any seeing or hearing, instantly, always clinging, coming in.
Yes, I was hoping that you would elaborate too on what Ajahn said. So there was clinging to that too.
Yeah. And it's daily life. The anxiety or the pain or the clinging yesterday can't be known, or even 5 minutes ago, it can't be known. But now there can be a little understanding of clinging even now.
Yes, Ajahn always says the truth now. And then we are wondering the truth now, she says that. But we may have misunderstandings. What is the truth now?
Discussion or another one, but as soon as there's intention to stop this or that bad habit, like the clinging or the drinking or the anger or anything else, it shows there's no understanding at all at this moment of what is now, because it's the idea of I having the intention to stop this or that. It's not understanding of what is conditioned now. So no matter the topic, it has to come back to understanding what appears now. And it's so helpful, because this is the only way there's any letting go, but not by trying to understand what is now, but appreciating that is all that is really useful in life. Anyway, you've brought up a lot of very helpful points and topics. Thank you, Nina.
Yes, because my helper got as a motive for her married life just Once Upon a Time. So I give her my booklet, Once Upon a Time. And then I try to explain each moment is once upon a time. Like now we are remembering things, and it is once upon a time.
I had coffee. Yes, I had coffee this morning with a friend who I haven't really seen for a long time. She used to come to our discussions regularly, and then she stopped coming to the discussions and started going to a meditation center, I think. But this morning she was saying how of all the things we said, what was so helpful was the emphasis on this moment. And she remembered that I talked about it like the waves are going to be big waves or little waves, but it's just a moment and it passes. Whatever arises just is by conditions and gone instantly. And she's having a lot of problems herself, a lot of legal difficulties and losing a lot of money, but she finds it so helpful to remember that it's just at a moment now. Life is just now. So we never know when what we say may have some benefit or maybe of assistance for anyone to reflect on later, even if we lose touch or don't see them, or they may seem to not have enough interest.
Yeah.
But she said she still considers many of the points that we mentioned.
Yeah, and on our different journeys, we have so many people we meet who have a loss of a dear one. And then Ajahn always said very helpful things. And she once said to her sister who missed her husband, it's like the wind blowing. So I like to think about that more, about the wind blowing.
The wind passing by. So all these different people come into our lives and leave like different winds blowing past and in and out. So different winds coming from different directions and passing by. But in truth, no one there at all. And sooner or later we lose everyone that is dear to us in this life, and then next life, more dear ones, more attachment, more ignorance. So there has to be the beginning of understanding and letting go now to help face up to whatever comes in life.
And like Ajahn says often to me, there is no Nina, there is no Lodewijk, and she repeated it many times. Even when Lodewijk, my husband, was still alive, there is no Lodewijk. So I found that a very concrete example, very helpful.
Like now, no Ajahn, no Sarah, no Jonathan, no one at all. Yeah. Just moments of seeing and hearing and thinking. It's daily life and it's now.
May I ask a question? Nina, do you have anything else you wanted to ask?
Go ahead, Maeve.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that Nina didn't have anything else. Ajahn, just a question about something that you say quite often, and that is that it's not useful for us to rely on our own thinking, that we need to be listening and also expressing our ideas so that others can give us some advice about whether we are not understanding in a correct way. What I'm wondering about is, and it's thinking about circumstances where maybe access to, say, discussions like this, or to friends, or even to the Dhamma itself, may not be there. And I'm thinking about the words of the Buddha. I think it's the Parinibbana Sutta, where he talks about being an island, taking refuge in the Dhamma, and being an island to ourselves, which always struck me as suggesting a certain amount of independence of thought and self-reliance in terms of our relationship with the Dhamma. Could you just say something about those two notions, which maybe if you could explain how to reconcile those ideas, please.
I think that when we understand Dhammas as all Dhammas, see what is real is a Dhamma, no doubt about the word, even depend on one's own or whatever. When there's the understanding of Dhamma, see, could Buddha give his understanding to anyone? Just give away his understanding to anyone?
I've actually wondered about that when he spoke those words. He was speaking to Ananda, as I understand, who obviously had reached a very high level of understanding. So are you asking, does that independence of thinking rely on having heard and understood the Dhamma to a certain degree? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, because you see that what is the purpose of his teaching? What is the purpose when he talked to this person and that person? What for?
Well, for understanding.
As condition, without condition, there cannot be any understanding. So can he just try to give his word to support, to help that person, or just to explain in details to understand, to be understood the truth by that person, not by the others?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Each word is to be understood, to be thought about, to be considered, whether it's true or not. We cannot tell anyone to do at all or to be, but to understand the truth. This is the difference between understanding and ignorance.
It's actually striking how the Buddha seemed to know exactly how to present the teachings to different people, obviously according to their level of understanding, their accumulations, etc.
For us, can we tell anyone not to go to the meditation center or just talk about the truth, the path leading to understand what is there now as it is? Because usually people think about future, but future hasn't come yet. And what can be known is that which is there appearing by conditions. Only that which can be learned to understand the truth of that which is there, not that which hasn't come yet or hasn't arisen yet.
Mm-hmm.
So Buddha usually asked anyone who came to see him, is seeing permanent or something like that, about that moment.
Mm.
The truth cannot be changed at all. Ignorance and right understanding by conditions, and what are conditions for whatever arises, and what degree and how it develops, not anyone developing at all. Right understanding apply to that which is not known or understood yet, from understanding little by little.
It's interesting, just to go back to what Sarah just mentioned about your friend, Sarah, how you'd had, I don't know how long ago it was, but you'd obviously had discussions. And since then, your friend has gone to the meditation center, etc. But she has remembered, and this seems to connect with what you're saying, Ajahn, about the moment. So there is something that stayed with her, despite her going in a different direction for the moment, for the present. But there is something that connected, and I don't know if we can assume that there was reflection and considering on that in the intervening time, which she was then able to raise with you about being something that seemed to be important to recollect.
You see that what is satya, see, and satya barami, being truthful to the truth. Is it right or wrong? To be truthful to the truth, to be true to what is there as it is. Even just one word has to be considered more and more and more, to be firm, confident of the understanding of even the word about that. Satya, see, what is true? This moment is true. Who makes it arise? Or it's conditioned to arise just to see, or just to think. It's there already. So anyone who thinks that I'll change or so on, impossible. It's no understanding of the truth, no firm satya of the truth. When it's firm, never go wrong because the truth is the truth.
Mm.
That's why Satya Barami has to be conditioned for the development of understanding, being truthful to the truth of this moment. The future hasn't come yet. What about the understanding of what is there when it's there appearing, even by nimitta?
Mm.
We never know about conditions for when there is understanding of satya. So when she stopped coming to the discussions, and I heard from another friend that she was going off to do meditation retreats, I never said anything to her. Like Ajahn said, you can't say to anyone, don't go, or it's not useful, or anything like that. But today we had a chat and I gave her a copy of my book, and she was really appreciative and said she was going to read it with interest. So there were just conditions to have a little more discussion today, but it has to be when there is the interest or when someone would like to discuss more, rather than just telling them what to do or not to. It doesn't help. And I think it relates to, I don't know, Alan, if you were there, but we were having a little bit of a discussion on DSG, because Alan was mentioning that people have to know what is the wrong way in order to follow the right way. And I was saying that I think it's the other way around. It's only by understanding what is the truth, what is real now, with more and more confidence, that there is the understanding of what is not right, and it is the understanding of what is true that gradually protects one from following the wrong way and following one's usual wrong views and wrong practices.
And it's a good example of just the conditionality around that being truthful to the truth is conditioned. That recognition, it's not a friend who recognized it, or thinking about what is heard in a certain way. It's just those moments when the truthfulness of what is heard is, I suppose, understood and accepted for what it is.
And when it's not enough, when the understanding is so little, it's not firm enough, so easy to be swayed or to follow other ways, and for one's interest not to develop. So that's why helping those who are new to the Dharma is so precious if there is the opportunity, because when the understanding is so weak and there's no confidence, one actually has to listen quite a lot.
May, if I can just go back to your earlier question, which I think was a keen observation, really, about when you made the comment about being an island unto yourself. I think obviously context will always be paramount in that particular situation, or in any particular situation. And I think what you just said there a moment ago, and Ajahn alluded to it also, about being truthful to the truth. I mean, you could see that comment about being an island unto yourself could also be interpreted as being, being truthful to the truth. So I think we can, when we hear these things, and a lot of people, as you've kind of alluded to, can misunderstand that kind of thing. And that will always be a trap. Ajahn also alluded to that earlier on too, that, there's attachment always lurking in the corner somewhere. So, self-ignorance can always decide, because of the lack of understanding, that, I'll do whatever seems right to me. And because the Dhamma is so subtle, that can easily lead us down we can easily go down the wrong track. So I'm wondering about that, that comment when the Buddha did talk about being aligned to yourself. But I think simply, like as we've just spoken about, that it can be interpreted as being truthful to the truth, and that's always a sort of a safe island to be on, rather than go down a path of, we're talking about the meditation center now, which is certainly not a safe island to be on, not at all. So, yeah, excuse me. It's always about carefully considering and looking at the context of that you mentioned, the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. I'm not remembering that part being in it could be, but it's not important anyway. But I'll do some digging on that myself, because I think that it's so easy, and we can see this time and time again, that it's so easy to misunderstand the Dhamma because of its subtlety, and because of our accumulated ignorance. We can head off in all sorts of paths, not very helpful. And unless we are, and while I'm just, Nina, I was listening to your earlier questions. I'm always appreciative of your graciousness and your humility. I think you're just such a wonderful role model. You really are. I always appreciate your questions, because you kind of remind me of that concept of what's called the naive inquirer, because I know you're not anywhere near naive, but you have a way of expressing your appreciation for Dhamma and your understanding of it in a way that helps us all. And I so appreciate the manner and style of which you, are able to ask questions with a great deal of humility. And I really notice, for me, I really notice it, and I really appreciate it. Yeah. So anyway, Maeve, I think, yeah, as I said, context will always be paramount, and we have to sort of look around it, and then I think that can give us a much better understanding of that. It's a very famous piece that the Buddha has spoken about, and but I'm not sure of the context. Anyway,
on the point about being an island is, I think, as Ajahn mentioned, it's like the Buddha cannot enlighten another. It has to be one's own understanding. That is the path. So no one can make another understand. And the point about not one's own thinking is, without hearing the Buddha's teaching, without hearing what is the right way, and one just looks to one's own thinking, but it takes one wrong all the time. What seems right is not right. So there has to be the listening again and again. And as Ajahn said, that is the condition for the understanding. But in the end, one is an island. No one else can enlighten one. And that's why, however many people the Buddha spoke to, just depended on conditions, who would understand and when, depending on the accumulations and conditions at the time. So no conflict between the two statements, or no mismatch. They're reconciled in that way, I think.
And I think actually it's really important that it wasn't just saying be an island. It was take refuge in the Dhamma and be an island.
Yes.
So it's like, you know,
it is
they're the
development
two,
of the
yes.
path. Yes, yes. Taking refuge in the path, in the Four Noble Truths, especially the last one, for the development of understanding, because no one else can do it for one. No God, no being, no Buddha can develop the path for one. It has to develop itself. And I think we're just about to run out of time, but Alan, you were just about to speak, I think.
Yeah, hi there, Sarah. No, I didn't have any questions. I was just, because you did mention me and that we had that discussion. And yeah, I think you raised a really important point, that if you don't listen, you can't understand what wrong practice is. So that, yeah, rather than telling people that they're going wrong, it's much better to help them understand what is right. So yeah, I appreciate that. That's a very important point that you raised. Otherwise, we can just have an argument. I can't hear you, Sarah. Is your microphone
Yes, sorry.
off?
Yes, if you just tell people it's wrong way to go to the meditation center, like you say, it just leads to an argument. Or if you just say that teacher is wrong, or it's the wrong practice, it doesn't help at all. If there's no understanding each for themselves about what is true and right now, what is seeing now, what is hearing now, they have to realize for themselves. I think that's the point. Okay, I just pass it to. Yes, go on.
Also, the term you used, I mean, yeah, the Pali term syllab, I can't even pronounce it, but the idea of you use wrong path, which is better than wrong practice, I think. So right path and wrong path is better than the wrong practice and right practice, because wrong practice assumes that there's a right practice, and that word practice has got lots of connotations of me doing something. So wrong path is better, I think. Yeah.
Yes,
we don't need
agree.
to
Otherwise, instantly there's the idea of the right way that I should do, applying or whatever.
Yes. And
yes.
I suppose the Pali, well, actually, that Pali term I've kind of known about, but only until fairly recently. But of course, the Pali terms are precise. So you use the word nama and rupa and metta. They do have a precise meaning, which everybody can understand in a way. So we communicate by using the Pali terms, which are very precise, whereas the English translations of, for instance, kindness can be very vague. So I think it is good to be precise, but use our own language, but at the same time recognize that the English words are limited, nama, rupa, or as Jonathan said, there is no word in the English language for what is seen. And I think that's really, that's quite an interesting statement. But
I think it's also the same with the Pali, that, for example, if there's no understanding of what is the quality of metta now, and we just use the word metta, many people use metta, many people talk about metta practice or their metta in daily life, but without any understanding of the quality. It's just a word, a term that has no meaning at all. So there has to be the understanding of.
So even the Pali
meant,
term can be misunderstood.
Completely misunderstood, and it is.
Yeah, it has to be the characteristic. Yeah,
that it has to be understood, that reality when it appears now, so that when we read about it in the text, we know what is meant. But without the understanding, whatever we read about will be misunderstood.
Because
there's a
also,
post.
keep going on. No, oh well, I was just going to say that I think what's the point Sarah made is obviously so. It's not whether English word or Pali word. It's not that's not the point. It's the understanding always that that will be the determining factor. It's if there's not the right understanding there, we can think there's metta, but of course there doesn't have to be at all. It's just a subtle type of attachment, or perhaps quite a gross level of attachment. But just getting back to your earlier point, just very briefly, I'm conscious of time. You were talking, you made a point there about, I'm just trying to remember now, you made a point about, if you can't think about what you've never heard before. So when people, have got their own interpretation of the Dhamma and haven't been fortunate enough to what seems to me to be the truth, then you can't follow that truth because it's not in your purview. It's not available to your level to any level of understanding because you haven't heard it before. So we always have to have heard the truth and to be able to consider it carefully. Without having heard it, then it cannot be the understanding, at any level. So there are many, as we know, there are many different levels of the Dhamma about these days, and people will just follow whatever their accumulations mostly will take them. So and unless they've heard the truth or heard the Dhamma, then they'll be forever floundering, it would seem to me.
But Sundara, we cannot assume that hearing the truth has to have been within this lifespan. I mean, hearing the truth can occur at any point in time, and that level of understanding in response to hearing the truth can also appear in any lifespan. So it's not just within this one that we can judge what has been heard and what hasn't been heard.
Yeah, I take your point, Maeve. Because we know, like people like in the Buddha's time, I was just, like Sariputta, he had been following his teacher Sanjaya, and then when he heard the Buddha, or he actually heard his disciple, the Buddha, as you said, it's this past life understanding which was able to come through. But I'm just saying that unless there had been that past life understanding, he wouldn't have been able to understand the Dhamma. So my point was that unless you have heard the Dhamma, that is the essential prerequisite. Perhaps I didn't convey that so clearly as I would have liked, or perhaps, anyway, I'm conscious of time, so that's a good point. We can perhaps follow it up later on.
Thank you too, Sundara.
Yeah, I think we need to continue next week. So thank you, Ajahn, and everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tanajan. Thanks.
Thank you.
Swadika,
Thank you, Tanajan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.